All right, so with our lovely Miss Jojo, ready, Jojo, here. Yes, nice job. So we're just going to warm up a little bit with some find its, with some check-ins, with some lovely little recalls for lovely Miss J. And then I wanted to work a little bit with some toys and then see if we could work toys for using focus on me while we do a little bit of loose leash walking. But we'll see how she's feeling. You ready, cutie? So I'm just breaking up some of her tidbits into smaller pieces. So ready? We'll do a little find it. She's like, I did not see that. Oh, she's found it. There she goes. Good job. So again, Jojo, here. Yes, nice job, cutie. So I am going to be working with her and her sibling Bodhi in a little bit together, but I wanted to give them each their own time to work a few skills, get in the groove, and then rotate, and then come back out together and practice. Ready? Jojo, find it. Jojo, here. Nice. Yes, good girl. So Miss J is doing a really nice job with her warm-ups. So remember the benefits of some of these great little find it exercises. It can help your puppy start to get more comfortable. I know right now she would rather be a naked woman, and I understand. So for her and her harness, we have been practicing with it on, sometimes off. I might give her a little breather from it. She's doing a real good job, but I don't want her to feel like she has to be stuck looking to the harness for right now. There we go. How's that? Little naked time. So I would rotate through both. I know we discussed a little bit how new equipment in times, no matter if it's a collar to a body harness, if your babe is not as comfortable or hasn't been as conditioned to it, they can feel a little overwhelmed. So I do like to give her venues for on off, and I know you guys do at home too. But she does tend to be a little bit of an itchy lady, but this can also be seasonal. You know, the weather's cooler, which means the heat is kind of rocking and getting everybody's skin a bit dry. And it could just be, again, a little bit of a stress signal too from our gorgeous gal. Ready? So, but if I was getting absolutely no behavior from her or no responses, I would be much more concerned. Ready? Nice, Jojo, with her comfort range. So feeling safe is really crucial for ever changing behavior, you know, while you're working on it, but also for down the road for it to be resilient and reliable and consistent. So a lot of times with novel situations, we may have moments. Oh, I'm gonna have to lower the bowl for her. Hold on, cutie. That one's a bit of a taller bowl. So sorry, I'm out of camera shot right now. I got these new bowls that can actually go on the fencing. So, because I know Mr. B at times does enjoy kind of creating some puddles, so don't worry. But Miss J can now reach it that I put it on the floor. But she also has her own little smaller water dish on the ground as well in her little section where she takes her little rest periods. So we'll see if she can grab a couple little drinks and then she'll come back. So with our gorgeous gal, I know at times big emotions happen. And even for our puppy, he's going through a little bit of like a fear period where novel things can seem more challenging or overwhelming. Jojo, here. She's like, hold up, there's a really cool smell. So right here, if I lose her for a moment, yeah, what a good girl. I'm going to give her the chance to process the information and see if she has the ability to come on down. She's just making her way slowly. What a good girl. Yes. So, but for our beauties, whenever you're feeling like they're struggling or they're having a harder time with something or they're getting really easily excitable, remember to always gauge also their life stages. So like I know for our gorgeous gal, she's 7 going on almost 8. So she's dealing with more of the maturity that also comes with sometimes turning into an older lady where she might be more sensitive with her joints or more sensitive with her hearing or her sight might be a little bit different. So there's going to be moments where those will also affect behavior, like I mentioned a little bit last week. So with our gorgeous gal, she's of course wandering all the way to the other side, which smells really nice. So I'm going to grab, for example, a tuggy toy. Oh, and see if she would like to play. Oh, actually, there's another shorter bowl. Let me bring that one out for her that she might enjoy better. Sorry that I'm out of camera shot for just a second. Ready, Miss J? You want me to bring that one out for you? So I'm just, of course, I had a smaller dish for her. And I'll bring it over to where we are. Ready, Jojo? This way. Come here, my lovey. Sorry again, out of camera shot. This way, love. Good girl. So with Miss J, I'm going to plop the bowl. Ready? Do you want it over here where you can reach it? Here you go. So she can go ahead, and of course now she's like, I don't want it. Well, shucks. So if she's interested, she can go get it when she wants it. Ready? We'll do another little find it. So, but whenever we're dealing with what we have deemed like could be behavioral trouble, a lot of times, I know I discuss this all the time in the reactive dog classes, especially, is that about 80% of the cases that are dealing with aggression or reactivity or like big responses tend to be dogs that are dealing with an ailment. So it could be, hip or elbow joint pain. It could be arthritis. It could be something that's throwing them off their game. And because of that, they have a shorter fuse. So there could be times where even with us, where we enjoyed some things when we were 5 are not the same things we enjoy when we were 15, and so on and so forth. So a lot of times people expect dogs to enjoy everything they've ever liked when they were little. But a lot of times that's very unrealistic expectations. It's almost like with a parent that wants you to stay little forever. You eventually need to become a big kid and an adult. And we have to mourn the child we don't have, but the adult that's in front of us instead. So we may have moments for our dogs where we had this concept or this ideal or this image of what a dog should be, but a lot of times it's maybe not as realistic as we hoped for us to be successful. So this doesn't mean you can't have goals and attain certain steps, but we want to make sure that the dog is also part of that equation and part of that picture. Nice job, miss. So anytime she comes and visits me and comes into my space, I really want to make sure she finds that there's value in checking in with the weird lady. Because again, I'm not her mom. I'm not her typical family. So she maybe has noticed that I did bring out some toys. So I want to try a little bit with our gorgeous gal and see if we can work even just sort of our take it and drop it. So it's nice that I've got a hoodie, so I can have a little pouch. I know I mentioned I have my training vest and I keep forgetting. But maybe I'll have to wear it another time and be a complete and utter dork. So with my gorgeous gal, if toys can be more motivational for her, we're going to try a little bit with sort of how she's honing in. I want to do a little bit with some loose leash walking and then some rotation through play. So I know you and I were working on this a little bit while we were at Tractor Supply. So with Mr. B, so I'm just kind of getting her encouraged to kind of stay nearby and sort of attentive. And this is like in the beginning stages. So it's not going to be like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. Good. And then the toy comes alive and she gets to go catch it. So for her, she is a very toy-driven lady. So I love her oomph. So this is where you could take this and for little bits practice where you're creating engagement with you versus her sibling, or engagement with you for a lovely recall she gets to play. She's like, I got this bad boy. Oh my goodness, she's a wild woman. Nice job. So again, the toy is alive. We have it go wiggle and she catches it. Remember that we want to continue to practice either redirecting from one toy to another. So we're practicing going from one to the next, and rotate can be really helpful for practicing that drop it or give or out. Nice job, cutie. If she's an eager woman, I might even do a little find it. She's like, nope, that has no value. So if your babe could care less about food and toys are life, she's like, I will break this bad boy. Then you could practice with toys instead that are maybe more motivational. Ready? Jojo, go get it. So sometimes what can be helpful is if your girl is not as good at dropping or relinquishing certain toys. I know she does a pretty good job, I think, with her ball and playing fetch and going and retrieving, but then also she likes to play where she like plops it into like a little, what is it, a pot, and then she drops it in or she tries to balance it. Well, she's a wild woman. She's like, this is the greatest day of my life. This one's nice because it's got the bungee, just like one of your toys, which I do have those here for her too. So we do want to make sure as well that we're not revving the engine too high and then forgetting how to use our brakes or how to slow down or pause for a second. So if she's getting so excited too that she's physically having a hard time, I don't want to have the play be so long that she gets winded to the point where she can't recover. So I'll put this one back in here for a second. We'll rotate through 2 toys. She said she really liked this weird one too. So I might go ahead and say, ready, Jojo, with me? And we might take a few steps together. Nice. So if I start to lose her, I might bring it a little lower, try to gain that attention. Nice. Take a few steps and then good. And then for doing such a nice job, kind of staying nearby or checking in or working those eyes, whatever it might be, you can then work, nice catch, a little bit through this play. Oh, she's such a good girl. Go get that bad boy. Nice. But getting some of this energy out could be a great way to make sure her little doggy needs are being met. Because a lot of times, even though dogs are, some of them are smaller, some of them are larger, some of them, again, brachycephalic versus not, we sometimes forget to make sure that their little needs on their checklist have been met. I'm not saying, again, I'm sometimes also a culprit. It's a really cold day. I really do not feel like I want to go out there, but then also my dogs are suffering. They're picking up their toes. They're not loving the feels of how cold it is. So you're going to have moments where maybe you practice indoor practice time. You maybe do a few easy puzzles. Maybe you do a couple other venues for energy or physical or mental exposure. But if there's times where your babe is, again, doesn't have certain needs met, those tend to sort of flow into like normal dog responses, but they get exaggerated. So if you've got like a herding group, their herding behaviors become even more exaggerated with the more pent up frustration or boredom that they might have. So a lot of behavioral trouble tends to actually be normal dog behavior, but because of out of context or because of there's no other natural outlet for them, they start to damage our house or damage things within the home or do other things we don't enjoy. She's like, oh, time for a drink. Good girl. So we'll let her get her catch her breath and get a little bit of water. She did a very nice job with her toys. So, but getting her to do little bits of maybe practicing some of that on-off switch with the toys, and maybe her brother is doing another skill with maybe your husband, and they're working a few skills while she's doing a couple things. And then we practice where when she gets a little jazzy, he can still be functional and vice versa. If excitement equals more chaos for any particular reason, I would make sure that some of these games are practiced independently. So maybe Mr. B is down for a nap, or he's doing some chew time or whatever in his little corral, or his X-Pen zone. And then maybe Ms. J gets to work a few skills in the living room while he's hanging out over there. So management is still your best friend. Prevention is really important. Because just like with us, if we were learning something but we kept doing it the wrong way because we didn't have instructions on how to do it the proper way, we could either cause harm to ourselves or get really bad at picking up a sort of a bad habit. So like if you were starting to finally go to the gym or exercise or do something new, a dance move, maybe you go to a class and you're trying to learn some salsa or whatever, the problem there is if you don't really know what you're doing, you could strain yourself or pull a muscle or hurt yourself lifting. So it is one of those things where if you don't know what you're doing and the babe has no idea what they're doing, there could be a lot more window for confusion, mistakes, and miscommunication. So ready? Jojo. Nice. Good job, cutie. So great name recognition. She says she really likes these freeze-dried snacks. The chicken is definitely up her alley. She's doing real nice with it. Good job, cutie. So, but you can see she's a little bit winded. So I'm not going to like push her too hard because again, having that cute little nose means that her ability to exchange the airflow is not the same. And as you guys already know, she can overheat and sort of have some trouble there. Jojo, here. Yes, what a smart girl. Very pretty. Oh my goodness, it fell out of my little face. So if she's done a great job with some of those toys, we might give her a little moment to take a break from the toy play and see if I can work another couple little skills. She's like, and I'm off. Jojo, here. Yes, what a good girl. I know, she's like, that snack's just not interesting. What about that one? Is that a winner? Oh, nope, just kidding. She's like, lady, I want the freeze-dried stuff. All right, hold on. Let me move my toy so I can get to the goodies better. Two, I know the sheepskin tuggy does get her very excited. So I would pick and choose toys, like I mentioned a little bit last week, like the flirt pole. It was a bit exciting for her and she had a hard time with like the sheepy skin one. So that one might be so valuable from her perspective so that she can't function to the level we were hoping. So just like with us, like if you were mid doing something that you found really fun and engaging, would you really want to pause it to go do something else? You ready? So I might get her attention. Well, we'll just do a little bit of walking. Ready? She's like, lady, this is so exhausting. She's doing a good job. Oh my goodness, so much practice. Woo! So if again, we're getting some nice engagement, she's like, please just make it come alive. So we'll say, ready? You want to play? Go get it. Good girl. So there's going to be moments where you can get a few little glimmers of behavior. Remember the great way to reinforce, now she's like too tired. She's like, no, I'm all set. So you may have to figure out like where is her starting point, where do things get a little bit not so great, and where are things not going well at all. So for the most part, we want to stick to the venues. I know we discussed prior, like in classes and a few other scenarios, where you want to create like that set of lights where you can then see what seems comfortable and safe for her environmentally, but also what skills and things she can be around and do okay with would be like your green. And then obviously our yellow would be like, again, like our set of lights, caution. It's not going to be as safe. It's not as fluid. There's still bounce back, but maybe she's not as comfortable. So we want to make sure that most of our practice is happening between green to yellow. Red, ready, Jojo? Yes, great little name. She's like, that's as good as it gets, lady. So name recognition, very nice. But we may find for her, if we're practicing, and I know we've discussed it prior, but like if we're practicing and we're always like easy peasy green to all of a sudden instantly red where things go wrong and she's not taking food and she's really flustered, or even for Mr. B2, is your pup again will grow into behavior, not out of it. Two, if we're flooding them with situations, what ends up happening is then the ability to change their feelings around that thing don't really happen. It's more so every time that scary thing arrives, we get scared and we perform the skills that makes us feel safer, and then that thing goes away. So sometimes what ends up happening is, especially for like sensitive dogs that are dealing with reactivity, is the more they perfect and work through their reactivity in the sense that they're exploding and having a hard time, the more that makes them feel safe again. So a lot of it is prevention. So if your dog is able to do what I call as window shopping, which is where they would go and look out the window, the slider, or some sort of visual, and they're barking and lunging and bombarding the window as things pass by, from your puppy's perspective, they think that barking at the mailman is what made them leave and made them feel safe again. So if our dogs are rehearsing certain things, they're going to get good at those things. It's a very natural dog response to bark at something that is somewhat overwhelming or spooky or novel, because we've bred dogs to be on high alert for novelty. A lot of them were bred to indicate, which they have a lovely alert bark. I see something, I heard something, I smell something, and they go woo woo. So in those situations, hi there, cutie, is your babe is rehearsing what has been given to them genetically, but also they're mastering throughout the day, let's say 8 hours a day, seeing things pass by, and that becomes their outlet. So just like with us, we can sometimes have not the greatest outlets for things, and they become a bad habit and a coping mechanism, but it's not a healthy one. So whenever we're trying to change natural dog behavior that is now becoming problematic, we want to think of, could there be an outlet for that skill in another venue? Oh, she's checking out. You're looking at the ball toy. That one does look nice. So if, for example, your babe constantly is rehearsing herding, like let's say they're moving your cat around the house, that becomes really reinforcing for your dog because it's fun. It gives them an outlet, and they're practicing dog-centric skills that were bred for them to have. So it's not that we want to punish or get rid of natural dog behavior, but we want to funnel it in to a healthy outlet. So like I always bring it back to like little kids, is if your little one had a lot of energy, as opposed to going to, let's say, Chuck E. Cheese, where it's a free-for-all and a little bit of chaos, not that that setting can't be okay here and there, but instead we might register for soccer camp or do ninja classes or gymnastics. So there's still that fun aspect, but it's kind of driven into a skill set, and there's on-offs to it. So karate is not the whole time like kicking somebody. There's information behind using your body. So that could be the same venue for some dogs where, ready, Jojo, here. Yes, what a good girl. Where for a lot of dogs, natural dog behavior tends to sadly be scolded, and then it's ruining kind of the rapport between us and them. So do think about as not your babe as being right or wrong. Ready? But instead, are they feeling safe? Am I bringing more of that comfort range or safety feelings? There's been studies done that with dogs that have a good attachment to their family, that they actually can be more comfortable and more resilient than dogs that don't have a good attachment to that person, that there's the caregiver. So it is something where for some dogs, again, they don't feel that there's much for safety, and then behaviors only seem to get bigger from there. So, but Miss J really did a gorgeous job on her own for today with a little bit of the play and some of these other skills. But I think what I'll do is I'll bring her out for a little potty break, and then we'll go ahead and we'll work a little bit with her and her brother, and we'll see how they're feeling. How cutie patootie. So we'll maybe sneak her out for a little pee. Ready? You want to do a little find it? And we'll give her a little break for a moment. But she did a really nice job, Miss J.